My parents didn't bill me for graduation attendance. They invoiced it. The email arrived at 6:42 a.m., 3 days post-ceremony. Payment due. Family appearance services. Itemized. Mom's time, $900. Dad's time, $900. Emotional labor of attending, $300. Total, $2,100. Subject line: please remit within 30 days. Below it, a PDF. My sister's wedding budget, $150,000. Gifted, 0 invoices. By noon, I forwarded both documents to our family group chat, 73 members. Then I posted them publicly. The invoice, the wedding budget, side by side, no caption needed. 4 million views by midnight. Every relative who'd called me difficult saw the math. Dad's law firm partners, Mom's book club, the church congregation. Their phones didn't stop ringing. Neither did mine, but my calls were from reporters. The MIT acceptance email arrived on a Tuesday morning in early spring, and for exactly 47 seconds, I believed my life was about to change. I was Cameron Vale, 21 years old, sitting in a Boston coffee shop where I'd just finished the closing shift, my laptop balanced on a table still sticky with someone else's latte. The email subject line read, "Your MIT graduate admission decision." My hands shook as I clicked it open. "Congratulations! We are pleased to offer you admission to the Master of Science program in Computer Science." I read it 3 times. Then I called my parents. "Mom?" My voice cracked. "I got in. Full scholarship. They're covering everything." There was a pause. Not the pause of someone gathering words of pride. The pause of someone mentally switching tabs. "That's wonderful, honey," she said. Her tone was the same one she used when I told her I'd gotten a promotion at the coffee shop. Flat. Distracted. "We're actually at the bridal boutique with Olivia right now. Can I call you back?" She didn't call back. My sister Olivia was 3 years older than me, and our parents had spent my entire life making sure I understood what that meant. It meant she got the car when she turned 16, while I got a bus pass and a lecture about building character. It meant her college tuition at a private liberal arts school was paid in full while I worked 3 part-time jobs to cover community college before transferring to a state school for my bachelor's. It meant that when she got engaged 6 months ago, our parents had sat her down with a blank check and told her to dream big. I'd learned not to expect much, but this was MIT, a full scholarship, graduate school at one of the most prestigious institutions in the world. I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be different. I was wrong. That evening, I called again. Dad answered this time. "Cameron, your mother told me about MIT. That's really something." His voice had that rehearsed quality, like he was reading from a script. "You must be very proud of yourself." "I am," I said carefully. "I was hoping we could celebrate. Maybe dinner this weekend?" "This weekend?" He exhaled slowly. "We're actually helping Olivia tour wedding venues. She's narrowed it down to 3, and the deposits are time-sensitive. You understand." I did understand. I understood perfectly. "What about the weekend after?" I pressed, hating how desperate I sounded. "Let me check with your mother and get back to you." He didn't get back to me. The thing about being the second choice is that you learn to read silences. You learn that "let me get back to you" means no. You learn that "you understand" means your needs are negotiable. You learn that love, in your family, operates on a budget, and you're not the line item that gets funded. But I'd spent 4 years clawing my way through undergraduate coursework while working 40 hours a week. I'd lived on ramen and library air conditioning. I'd skipped meals to make rent. I'd stayed up until 3 a.m. writing code after closing shifts at the coffee shop, my fingers cramping over a keyboard in an apartment so cold I could see my breath. I'd done it all because I believed that success would change things. That achievement would earn me the space I'd never been given. The MIT acceptance was supposed to be that moment. 3 days after I got the email, I drove to my parents' house. I needed to tell them in person, to see their faces when I explained what this meant. The scholarship covered tuition, fees, even a modest stipend. For the first time in my adult life, I wouldn't have to choose between eating and paying rent. I parked in the driveway behind my sister's BMW, a graduation gift from our parents. Mine was a 2003 Honda Civic with a duct-taped bumper and a check engine light that had been on for 2 years. Mom answered the door with her phone pressed to her ear. She waved me inside without making eye contact. "No, the centerpieces need to be ivory, not white," she was saying. "White reads as stark. Ivory is romantic." I waited in the foyer. Waited while she discussed flower arrangements. Waited while she debated linens. Waited while she laughed at something the wedding planner said. 15 minutes later, she hung up and turned to me. "Cameron, what brings you by?" "I wanted to talk about MIT, I said. "About the scholarship. About—" "Oh, honey, that's wonderful," she interrupted. "But can this wait? We're meeting with the caterer in an hour, and I need to change. I just drove 40 minutes to and I appreciate that, but timing is everything with wedding planning. You'll understand when it's your turn." She smiled, already moving toward the stairs. "Lock the door on your way out, okay?" I stood there in the foyer of the house I'd grown up in, surrounded by framed photos of Olivia. Olivia's high school graduation. Olivia's college acceptance. Olivia's engagement. There was one photo of me, small and off-center, from my community college transfer ceremony. I was wearing my work uniform because I'd had a shift right after. That's when I should have known, but I didn't. I kept believing that if I just achieved enough, worked hard enough, succeeded loudly enough, they'd finally see me. The MIT acceptance packet arrived 2 weeks later. Thick envelope, embossed logo, welcome materials. I took a photo of it and sent it to the family group chat. Olivia responded first. "Amazing, Cam. So proud of you." My Aunt Linda. "Congratulations. This is incredible." My cousin Jake. "Mitt? That's huge." Mom's response came 4 hours later. "Very nice." Dad never responded at all. But that same week, when Olivia posted a photo of her wedding venue, a historic estate with gardens and a ballroom, Mom commented within minutes. "My beautiful daughter is going to have the wedding of her dreams. So blessed." 73 likes, 42 comments. Dad shared it on his own page with the caption, "No expense spared for our princess." I tried not to let it bother me. I tried to focus on the future, on the degree, on the career I was building. But late at night, alone in my cramped apartment, I'd scroll through their social media and count the posts. In the past year, they'd posted about Olivia 153 times. They'd posted about me 4 times, and 3 of those were obligatory birthday acknowledgments. The 4th was a shared post from MIT's official page about their incoming class. Mom had tagged me without comment. Still, when the graduation invitation arrived in my student portal, I ordered them tickets. Front row. I paid for their hotel room 2 nights, because the ceremony was on a Sunday, and they'd need to drive in Saturday. I made reservations at a nice restaurant for after. A place I couldn't actually afford but figured I'd put on a credit card because this was important. This was MIT. They'd show up for this. They had to. My parents' names were Richard and Helen Vale, and they'd built their entire identity around the concept of fairness. "We treat both our daughters equally," Mom would say at family gatherings, her hand resting on Olivia's shoulder while I stood 3 feet away, outside the frame of belonging. Equal. That was the word they loved, the word they weaponized. But equal didn't mean what they thought it meant. When I was 7 and Olivia was 10, we both wanted piano lessons. Mom signed Olivia up immediately private instructor, twice a week, a upright piano delivered to our living room. When I asked for lessons too, Dad sat me down with a serious expression. "Cameron, your sister has a real gift for music. We need to invest in her talent. But you're more of a self-starter. Why don't you teach yourself? There are videos online." I was 7. I didn't teach myself piano. I taught myself that my interests were optional. When I was 12, I made the honor roll for the first time. Straight A's. I brought the report card home like a trophy, convinced this would be the thing that made them proud. Dad glanced at it. Good job, keep it up. That same week, Olivia made the JV soccer team. They threw her a party, invited extended family, bought her new cleats and a personalized jersey, took a photo for the annual holiday card. Olivia in her uniform, Mom and Dad beaming behind her, me cropped out of the frame. When I asked why we didn't celebrate my report card, Mom said, "Honey, grades are expected. Sports are an achievement." I stopped bringing home report cards after that. The pattern solidified in high school. Olivia got a car for her 16th birthday, a used Toyota, but still, a car. When I turned 16, Dad handed me a bus pass and a lecture about fiscal responsibility. "Your sister needed a car for her extracurriculars," he explained. "You don't have as many commitments. Public transportation builds character." Character. That's what I got instead of equity. Character, instead of the SAT prep course they paid for Olivia to take twice. Character, instead of the college tour road trip they took her on, visiting 7 schools in 5 states, while I stayed home and worked my shift at the grocery store. When it came time to apply to colleges, I knew better than to ask for help. I filled out applications on my breaks at work, wrote essays on my phone during bus rides, submitted everything with a fee waiver because I couldn't afford the application costs. I got into the state school with a partial scholarship. It would cover 60% of tuition. The rest, housing, fees, books, food, transportation, was on me. "We're so proud of you," Mom said when I told her. "You're going to college." Olivia was already finishing her sophomore year at a private liberal arts school that cost $60,000 annually. Paid in full. No loans, no work study. She spent her summers studying abroad in France and Italy while I worked double shifts at the coffee shop to make rent. I wanted to be bitter. I tried not to be. Bitterness felt like letting them win. So I worked. I worked 40 hours a week while taking 18 credit hours per semester. I graduated in 3.5 years to save money. I lived in the cheapest apartment I could find, a studio with black mold in the bathroom and a landlord who ignored maintenance requests. I ate ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. I studied in the library because I couldn't afford to heat my apartment in winter. My GPA was 4. Perfect. I won departmental awards. I was named a National Merit Scholar. I landed 3 competitive internships, each one building toward my dream of working in artificial intelligence research. And through it all, my parents remained distracted. They came to Olivia's soccer games, her art shows, her college graduation. They posted about her constantly, every achievement, every milestone, every mundane Tuesday afternoon. Their Facebook pages were shrines to her existence. For me, they managed the bare minimum. They came to my state school graduation, arrived late, left early, took 1 photo. Dad's thumb was over the lens. Mom posted it anyway. No caption. When I told them I was applying to MIT for graduate school, Dad's first question was, "How much will that cost us?" "Nothing," I said. "I'm applying for fellowships. Full rides only." He nodded, satisfied. "Good, because Olivia's wedding is going to be expensive." Olivia had gotten engaged 6 months before I applied to MIT. Her fiancé, Derek, was a corporate attorney with a trust fund and a vacation home. They didn't need financial help, but our parents insisted. "We want to give our daughter the wedding she deserves," Mom said. The budget was $150,000. I found out because Olivia told me, giddy with excitement, showing me spreadsheets of venues and catering packages. She didn't mean to rub it in. She didn't know that I was eating 2 meals a day to save money, that I was wearing shoes with holes in the soles, that I'd cried in a CVS parking lot the week before because I couldn't afford both my medication and groceries. She didn't know because I didn't tell her, because the script I'd learned was that my struggles were character building and her joys were family celebrations. "I'm so happy for you," I told her. And I meant it. Olivia wasn't the villain. She was just the favorite. The week I got my MIT acceptance, Mom and Dad took Olivia to tour the wedding venue. They stayed at a bed and breakfast. They posted photos of the gardens, the ballroom, the perfect setting for our princess. I was in my apartment, trying to figure out how to afford professional clothes for graduate school interviews. When I called to tell them about the scholarship, full tuition, full fees, a stipend of $32,000 a year, Mom said, "That's nice, honey. Did you know the venue deposit is $15,000? Can you believe that? $15,000 just to hold the date. That's a lot," I said. "Worth every penny," she replied. I started keeping a tally. Not out of spite, but out of a desperate need to understand the math. Olivia's undergraduate education. $240,000. My undergraduate education. $43,000 in loans I was still paying off. Olivia's car. $12,000. My car. $1,800. Purchased with my own money after saving for 2 years. Olivia's wedding budget. $150,000. My graduation gift from MIT. TBD. But I wasn't optimistic. The numbers didn't lie. But I kept hoping the people would. 3 weeks before my graduation, I sent a detailed email to my parents with all the ceremony information: date, time, location, hotel recommendations, restaurant reservation for after. I'd even included a printable parking pass. Dad responded, "Got it. We'll be there." Mom didn't respond. She was too busy posting about Olivia's bridal shower, an event at a country club that cost more than my rent for 6 months. But they'd confirmed. They were coming. I let myself believe it. I bought a new dress for the ceremony, splurging on something that made me feel capable and accomplished. I got my hair cut. I printed extra programs so they'd have something to keep. I even wrote a small speech in my head, something I'd say at dinner after the ceremony. Something about how their support, even when it felt thin, had mattered. How I was grateful. How I'd made them proud. I practiced it alone in my apartment, voice cracking with emotion I didn't want to name. This was MIT. They'd show up. They'd finally see me. And for a few days, I believed it. Graduation morning started at 5:47 a.m. when my alarm went off, and my stomach immediately knotted with anxiety. I showered. I dried my hair. I put on the navy dress I'd bought specifically for this day, professional. Clean-lined, the kind of dress that said, "I belong here." I stared at myself in the mirror and tried to believe it. My hands were shaking. I'd texted my parents the night before. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Ceremony starts at 10 a.m. Meet at Kresge Auditorium by 9:30? Dad had responded, "We'll be there." Mom had hearted the message. I drove to campus early, parked in the graduate lot, and walked across the quad as the sun came up. MIT in May was beautiful trees blooming, students in regalia gathering for photos, families setting up blankets on the lawn. There was an electricity in the air, a sense of culmination. 312 students were graduating with master's degrees that day. I was one of them. I'd survived 4 years of undergrad while working myself to exhaustion. I'd gotten into one of the most competitive graduate programs in the world. I'd earned a full scholarship. I'd finished my thesis 3 weeks early. I'd done everything right. And today, my parents were going to watch me walk across the stage. By 9:15 a.m., I was in Kresge Auditorium, scanning the crowd for them. Rows of folding chairs stretched across the venue, families claiming seats, programs rustling. I'd saved 2 seats in the front row. Section B, seats 14 and 15, prime location, right where they'd have a perfect view. 9:30 came. They weren't there. I texted, "Are you close?" No response. 9:45. The seats were still empty. I called. Voicemail. At 9:52, Dad texted, "Running a few minutes late. Traffic." Okay. Traffic. That made sense. It was fine. The ceremony started at 10:04 a.m. The seats were still empty. I kept my phone in my lap under my gown, checking compulsively. No new messages. I craned my neck to look at the entrance. Families were still trickling in, but none of them were mine. At 10:23, they arrived. I saw them slip into the back of the auditorium, mom in a floral dress, dad in khakis and a button-down. Not dressed up, not carrying flowers or a card. They found seats in the last row, near the exit. Relief flooded through me so intensely I almost cried. They came. They actually came. The ceremony proceeded. Dean's welcome, faculty speeches, student awards. I kept glancing back at them, trying to catch their eyes. Mom was on her phone. Dad was staring into the middle distance. When my name was called Cameron Vale, Master of Science in Computer Science, thesis on neural network optimization in autonomous systems, I walked across the stage, shook the dean's hand, accepted my diploma. I looked at the back row. Mom was still on her phone. Dad was checking his watch. They didn't clap. At least, I couldn't hear them if they did. The ceremony ended at 11:47 a.m. I made my way through the crowd, diploma in hand, searching for them. I found them near the exit, already standing, clearly ready to leave. "You made it," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "Of course we did," Mom said. She gave me a quick, stiff hug. "Congratulations, honey." "Proud of you," Dad added. His hug was even stiffer. "Thank you for coming," I said. "I made reservations for lunch. There's this great place near campus. We can celebrate." "Actually, we need to get going," Dad interrupted. "Traffic on the way back is going to be terrible." I blinked. "But the ceremony just ended. I thought we could spend some time together." Mom adjusted her purse. "Honey, we have a lot going on. Olivia's dress fitting is tomorrow morning, and we need to get back to help her prepare." "It's a 3-hour drive," I said, hearing the desperation creep into my voice. "You could stay for lunch, 1 hour." "We really can't," Dad said firmly. "We'll celebrate another time." Another time. The words hung in the air between us, hollow and weightless. "Okay," I whispered. Mom gave me one more quick hug. "We're so proud of you, Cameron. You did this all on your own." They left. I stood in Kresge Auditorium, surrounded by 311 other graduates and their families, holding my diploma, watching my parents disappear through the exit. "All on your own." The words echoed. I walked back to my apartment in my dress and heels, still wearing my regalia, carrying my diploma in its leather case. Other graduates passed me, laughing with their families, taking photos, heading to celebratory dinners. I climbed the stairs to my studio. I set the diploma on the counter. I sat on my bed. I didn't cry. I was too numb for that. They came. That's what mattered. They showed up. Even if they were late. Even if they sat in the back. Even if they left immediately. They were there. I repeated it to myself like a mantra. They were there. 3 days later, the email arrived. 5:42 a.m. on a Wednesday. I was getting ready for my summer research position, a post-graduation gig that would bridge me into a PhD program. My phone chimed. I glanced at the notification. Email from Richard Vale. Subject: Payment due, Family Appearance Services. My stomach dropped. I opened it. Invoice. Bill to Cameron Vale. From Richard and Helen Vale. Date: 3 days post-graduation. Payment due: 30 days from invoice date. Services rendered. Attendance at graduation ceremony. Helen Vale, 2.5 hours at $360. Divided by hour equals $900. Attendance at graduation ceremony. Richard Vale, 2.5 hours at $360. Divided by hour equals $900. Emotional labor of attending, $300. Total due, $2,100. Payment instructions: Venmo, Zelle, or check accepted. Please remit within 30 days to avoid late fees. Notes: We understand this is your achievement, but our time is valuable. As discussed, family obligations are a two-way street. I read it 3 times. Then I scrolled down. There was an attachment. Olivia, wedding, budget. Final. XLSX. I opened it. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. Total wedding budget. $150,000. Contributed by Richard and Helen Vale. $150,000. Contributed by bride and groom, $0. Line items filled the screen. Venue, $35,000. Catering, $28,000. Dress, $8,500. Photography, $6,000. Flowers, $4,200. Honeymoon, $18,000. Every single dollar, gifted. 0 invoices. I sat on the floor of my apartment, still in my pajamas, staring at the email, the invoice, the budget. $2,100 to attend my graduation. $150,000 to celebrate my sister's wedding. Something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked, like a windshield spiderwebbing before it shatters completely. I'd spent my entire life trying to earn their love, trying to achieve enough, succeed enough, be good enough. I'd worked myself to exhaustion. I'd sacrificed everything. I'd believed that if I just kept going, kept pushing, kept proving, they'd finally see me. But they didn't see me. They saw an obligation, a line item, a cost to be invoiced. My graduation, the culmination of years of struggle and sacrifice, was worth $2,100 of their time. My sister's wedding was worth $150,000 of their pride. I forwarded the email to my best friend Jordan. No commentary, just the forward. Jordan called immediately. Cameron. What the fuck? Yeah, I said. My voice sounded far away. They invoiced you? For attending your graduation? While giving Olivia $150,000 for a wedding? Yes. Cameron, this isn't favoritism. This is abuse. The word hung in the air. Abuse. I need to think, I said. Don't pay it, Jordan said firmly. Whatever you do, don't pay that invoice. I hung up. I sat on my floor. I stared at the email. And then I did something I'd never done before. I opened the family group chat. 73 members, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. The people who'd watched me be overlooked my entire life. I forwarded the email. Both attachments. The invoice. The budget. No caption, no explanation. Just the evidence. Then I screenshotted it and posted it publicly on social media. Side by side. The invoice billing me for their time. The budget gifting her a fairy tale. I added one sentence. This is what conditional love looks like. I hit post. And I watched my life explode. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my bed, laptop open, watching the post spread. 50 shares in the first hour. Then 200. Then 1,000. The family group chat exploded. 73 people, all typing at once. Aunt Linda. Helen, what is this? Cousin Jake. Holy shit. Is this real? Uncle Marco. Richard, you need to explain this. Now. Grandmother Dorothy. I don't understand. Why would you charge your daughter? My phone vibrated constantly. Text messages, calls, voicemails piling up. I put it on silent and kept refreshing the post. 2,000 shares. Someone had screenshot the invoice and circled the emotional labor line in red. It was being passed around Twitter with captions like, "This is what narcissistic parents look like," and "The audacity is breathtaking." 5,000 shares. Jordan called at 3 a.m. I answered. Cameron, are you okay? I don't know, I said honestly. Your post has 500,000 views. I refreshed. 547,000 views. I'd gained 4,000 followers in 6 hours. People are on your side, Jordan said. Everyone sees how fucked up this is. My parents haven't responded. They will. But they didn't. Not that night. Not in the group chat. Not in the comments. Not via text or call. Radio silence. Olivia messaged me privately at 4:17 a.m. Cam, I'm so sorry. I had no idea they were going to do this. This is insane. Are you okay? I stared at her message. She didn't know. Of course she didn't. She'd never had to know. I'm fine, I typed back. Not your fault. Do you want me to talk to them? No. I need to handle this myself. By 6 a.m., I'd read the invoice approximately 47 times. Each time, new details jumped out at me. The itemization, the hourly rate, the emotional labor fee, the professional formatting like they'd used a template, like they'd done this before. That thought stopped me cold. Like they'd done this before. I opened Google in a new tab. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Can parents legally invoice adult children for time? The search results were a mix of legal forums and Reddit threads. The consensus? No. Adult children have no legal obligation to pay parents for voluntary attendance at events. I searched again. Parents charging for graduation attendance. Fewer results. One article about a father who jokingly sent his son a bill for 18 years of parenting, but it was clearly satire. No one actually did this. Except my parents had. I pulled up my email and searched for messages from my parents over the past year. There had to be something, some precedent, some warning sign I'd missed. I found it in an email from 8 months ago. From Helen Vale. Subject: Thanksgiving plans. Date: 3 days before Thanksgiving. Cameron, your father and I have decided to host Thanksgiving at Olivia's request. We'll be focusing on wedding planning that weekend, so it will be a working holiday. If you'd like to attend, we ask that you contribute $200 toward costs, as we're catering this year to accommodate the extra planning. Let us know by Monday. Mom, I hadn't gone. I'd told myself it was because I couldn't afford the $200, but that wasn't the whole truth. The truth was that the email had felt like a transaction, like I was being charged admission to my own family. I kept searching, found another email from 6 months ago. From Richard Vale. Subject: Family photo session. Date: January. Cameron, we're scheduling a family photo session for Olivia's engagement announcement. The photographer charges by person, so we're asking everyone to chip in $150 to cover the sitting fee and prints. Session is February 10th at 2 p.m. Confirm by end of week if you're attending. Dad. I hadn't confirmed. I'd been in the middle of thesis crunch, working 18-hour days. I didn't have $150 to spare. I'd told them I couldn't make it. The photos had been posted on Facebook 3 weeks later. Mom, Dad, Olivia, and Derek. Professionally lit. Beautifully framed. No one had asked me to chip in for Olivia's high school senior photos, or her college graduation portraits, or any of the dozen other professional sessions they'd paid for in full. But they'd asked me. I leaned back against my headboard, laptop balanced on my knees, and felt something shift in my chest. This wasn't new. The invoice wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of a pattern I'd been too close to see. They'd been charging me for access to my own family for months. Maybe years. I opened a new document and started typing. Every instance I could remember. Every time they'd asked me to contribute when Olivia hadn't been asked. Every time money had been a condition for my presence. The list grew to 2 pages, then 3. By 7 a.m., my phone had 83 unread messages in the family group chat. Aunt Linda. Richard, Helen, you need to address this. This is unacceptable. Grandfather James. I'm ashamed. Ashamed of my own son. Cousin Maria. Cameron, I'm here if you need anything. Uncle Paul. This is a private family matter. Cameron shouldn't have aired this publicly. Aunt Linda. Paul. They invoiced her. She had every right to expose that. My mother finally responded at 7:34 a.m. Mom. This is being taken out of context. We've always tried to teach our daughters the value of money and reciprocity. Cameron knows we've made sacrifices for this family. I read it 3 times. The non-apology, the deflection, the subtle accusation that I was ungrateful. I started typing a response. Deleted it. Started again. Deleted it. Jordan's words echoed in my head. Don't pay it. Whatever you do, don't pay that invoice. I wasn't going to pay it, but I was going to understand it. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I needed documentation, evidence, a full picture of the financial landscape that had shaped my entire life. I opened my laptop's file browser and navigated to a folder I hadn't touched in years. Family documents. I'd scanned a bunch of old paperwork when I moved out at 18: birth certificates, tax forms, college financial aid letters. I started digging, and what I found made my hands go cold. The folder was labeled Family, Docs, Backup, and I'd created it during my freshman year of college, back when I still believed my parents might help me fill out FAFSA forms. They hadn't helped. I'd done it alone, but I'd kept the scans anyway. I clicked through files. My birth certificate, my social security card, high school transcripts. Nothing unusual. Then I found a subfolder I didn't remember creating. Parent, Tax, Docs, 2019. I opened it. Inside were PDF scans of my parents' tax returns from 5 years ago. I must have needed them for financial aid verification. The files were labeled by year: 2019, 2020, 2021. I opened the most recent one. 2021. My junior year of undergrad. Standard W-2 forms. Dad's income as a corporate attorney, $187,000 annually. Mom's income from her part-time consulting work, $43,000. Combined, $230,000. $250,000 a year. I felt my jaw tighten. They'd told me they couldn't help with my college costs because money was tight. Because they had expenses. Because Olivia's education had depleted their savings. $230,000 a year. I kept scrolling. Itemized deductions. Mortgage interest. Charitable donations. Then I saw it. Education expenses claimed. $0. I stopped breathing. $0 claimed in education expenses. That meant they hadn't paid a single tuition bill that year. Not for Olivia, who was finishing her senior year at a $60,000 per year private school. Not for me, but Olivia had graduated debt-free, which meant they'd paid her tuition in previous years when I was in high school, before I needed help. They'd funded her education in full, early. And by the time I got to college, they'd decided the bank was closed. I opened the 2020 return. Same story. 0 education expenses. 0. My stomach churned. I pulled up my own student loan account. $43,000 in debt. Interest accruing daily. Payments I'd been making since graduation, $340 a month, slowly chipping away at a number that never seemed to shrink. They'd had the money. They'd chosen not to spend it on me. But that wasn't the worst part. I kept digging through the files, looking for anything else, and found a folder labeled Banking, Statements, Archive. I didn't remember scanning these. Maybe I'd grabbed them by accident years ago when backing up documents. I opened the folder. Bank statements from 2020. Joint checking account for Richard and Helen Vale. I scrolled through transactions. Mortgage payments, grocery store purchases, gas stations, normal stuff. Then, in March 2020, I saw a large deposit. Wire transfer received. $25,000. Source: E. Vale gift transfer. E. Vale. My grandmother. Eleanor Vale. Dad's mother. I remembered this. Grandma Eleanor had passed away in early 2020. She'd left inheritance money to her children and grandchildren. I'd received a check for $5,000, a blessing that had covered my rent for months during the pandemic. But this deposit was $25,000, and it was only to my parents, which meant it wasn't their personal inheritance. It was something else. I scrolled further. 2 days after that deposit. A payment. Check hash 4471. $25,000. Memo. Olivia, wedding fund. My vision blurred. Grandma Eleanor's inheritance. Money that should have been distributed evenly among her grandchildren. Money that I'd assumed was the $5,000 I'd received. They'd received $25,000 and given it directly to Olivia's wedding fund. I did the math. If Grandma had left equal amounts to each grandchild, I should have received $25,000 too. But I'd gotten $5,000. They'd kept my inheritance, redirected it, reallocated it to their golden child. I felt like I was going to throw up. I kept scrolling through the statements, found another transfer in June 2020. Transfer to Olivia Vale, checking, $8,500. Memo. Wedding dress, alterations, accessories. $8,500 for a dress. That same month, I'd emailed my parents asking if they could loan me $500 for an emergency root canal. My tooth had abscessed. I was in agony. I'd promised to pay them back within 3 months. My dad's response had been one sentence. We can't extend credit right now. Try a payment plan with the dentist. I'd ended up opening a care credit account with 26% interest. I was still paying it off. $8,500 for Olivia's dress. $0 for my dental emergency. The statements went on. Month after month. Transfers to Olivia. Payments for wedding vendors. Deposits into a wedding savings account. By the time I reached January 2021, they'd moved over $90,000 into wedding-related expenses. I pulled up a new browser tab and opened my email. Searched for messages from my parents during that same time period. Found one from July 2020. From Helen Vale. Subject: budget concerns. Cameron, your father and I are tightening our budget due to pandemic uncertainties. We won't be able to contribute to any additional expenses for you this year. Please plan accordingly. Mom. I stared at the screen. The date. The 15th of July 2020. I pulled up the bank statement for July 2020. 3 transactions that month to Olivia's accounts, totaling $12,400. Pandemic uncertainties. Budget concerns. Lies. All of it. Calculated, deliberate lies. My hands were shaking so hard I had to set the laptop down. I stood up, paced my tiny apartment, sat back down, pulled up my phone and opened the Photos app. Scrolled back to March 2020. Found a selfie I'd taken in my car, holding Grandma Eleanor's $5,000 check, smiling. I'd captioned it, "Grandma's generosity is literally saving my life right now." I'd thought I was lucky. I'd thought $5,000 was a fortune. I should have received $25,000. Maybe more. They'd stolen it. Not legally, maybe. But morally, ethically. They'd intercepted money meant for me and given it to my sister. I screenshot every bank statement, every transaction, every date and amount. I created a new folder, Evidence. By the time I was done, I had 43 screenshots documenting a pattern of financial favoritism so blatant it looked like satire. But it wasn't satire. It was my life. I opened a new spreadsheet and started building a timeline. March 2020, Grandma's inheritance deposited. $25,000 to Olivia's wedding fund. $5,000 to Cameron. June 2020. Cameron requests $500 loan for dental emergency. Denied. Same month. $8,500 paid for Olivia's wedding dress. July 2020. Parents email Cameron about budget concerns. Same month. $12,400 transferred to Olivia. September 2020. Cameron asks if parents can contribute to textbooks, to $400. Denied. Same month. $6,000 paid to wedding photographer. November 2020. Parents ask Cameron to contribute $200 to Thanksgiving catering. Cameron declines. Same month, $15,000 venue deposit for Olivia's wedding. The pattern was surgical. Every time I'd asked for help, they'd been actively funneling money to Olivia. I kept going, pulling from emails, old texts, social media posts. The timeline stretched back further than I'd realized. April 2019, Cameron's sophomore year. Car breaks down, needs $800 in repairs. Parents say they don't have extra cash right now. Cameron opens a credit card to cover it. Same month, according to Facebook posts, parents surprise Olivia with a $2,000 study abroad scholarship supplement. August 2019, Cameron asks for help with security deposit on new apartment, $600. Parents say money is tied up in investments. Cameron borrows from a friend. Same month. Parents buy Olivia a new laptop for senior year. Cost per Facebook post: $1,400. December 2019. Cameron's winter coat has broken zipper. Asks if parents can help replace it, to $100. Told, it's not in the budget. Cameron wears broken coat all winter. Same month, parents pay for Olivia's entire holiday trip to Aspen with friends. Estimated cost based on posts: $3,000 plus. I leaned back from the screen. The spreadsheet had grown to 18 months of documented disparity, and that was only what I could prove. The real pattern probably stretched back to childhood. I thought about being 7 and not getting piano lessons, being 12 and not getting a party for honor roll, being 16 and not getting a car. The lie had always been the same: we don't have the money. But they'd always had the money. They just hadn't wanted to spend it on me. The realization landed like a physical blow. It wasn't about fairness. It wasn't about teaching me independence or character. It wasn't about budget constraints or timing. It was about choice. They had chosen, again and again, to invest in Olivia while leaving me to fend for myself. Every denial, every "we can't afford it," every time they'd watched me struggle, it had been a choice. My phone buzzed. Text from Jordan: "Have you slept?" "No." I typed back. "What are you doing?" "Building a case." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "A case?" "I'm documenting everything. Every dollar they gave her. Every dollar they denied me. Every lie they told." "Cameron, what are you planning?" I looked at the spreadsheet. 43 screenshots. 18 months of detailed financial records. A pattern so clear it would be impossible to deny. "I don't know yet," I typed. "But they're not getting away with this." Jordan called immediately. I answered. "Getting away with what?" she asked carefully. "Cameron, I love that you're standing up for yourself, but what's the end game here?" "They invoiced me, Jordan. They sent me a bill for attending my graduation, while simultaneously funding a $150,000 wedding for my sister. That's not just favoritism. That's—" I stopped. What was it? What legal term applied here? "Financial abuse," Jordan finished quietly. "You said it yourself the other night." "Right, financial abuse. Which means what? You sue them?" "Maybe. I don't know. I need people to see this. Not just the invoice. The whole pattern. Everything. The post already went viral. That's just the surface. That's 2 documents. I have years of this." Jordan was quiet for a long moment. "You need a lawyer." "I can't afford a lawyer." "Legal aid. Free consultation. Just to understand your options." I pulled up Google on my laptop. Typed, "Legal Aid Boston Family Financial Abuse." Several results appeared. Legal aid societies, pro bono clinics, law school programs. "Okay," I said. "I'll call someone." "Today?" Jordan pressed. "Today." After we hung up, I sat with the spreadsheet open, staring at 18 months of numbers, 18 months of proof that I hadn't imagined it. That the feeling of being second choice, of being overlooked, of being undervalued, it wasn't in my head, It was real. It was documented. It was $150,000 versus $0. My email dinged. New message in the family group chat. Dad, to clarify, the invoice sent to Cameron was intended as a teaching moment about reciprocity and family contribution. It's unfortunate she chose to make this public, rather than discuss it privately. I read it twice. A teaching moment. Reciprocity. They were going to frame this as a lesson. As something I should have learned from. I started typing a response, fingers flying across the keyboard. A teaching moment would be explaining values. An invoice with a 30-day due date is a bill. And while you were teaching me about reciprocity, you were actively funneling $150,000 to Olivia? Let's talk about what you were teaching me there. I hit send before I could second guess it. The chat went silent. 73 people, all reading, all waiting. Then, Aunt Linda. Richard, this is beyond inappropriate. You owe Cameron more than deflection. Grandfather James. My son, the lawyer, doesn't understand the difference between parenting and invoicing. I'm horrified. Cousin Jake. Cameron, we're with you. Whatever you need. My phone buzzed again. This time, a private message from someone I didn't recognize. Hi, Cameron. I'm a family law attorney in Boston. Saw your post. If you need a consultation, I'd be happy to talk pro bono. What your parents did is legally questionable and morally reprehensible. I stared at the message. Read the sender's name. Marcus Chen, Esquire. This was real. This was happening. I took a screenshot of the message and sent it to Jordan. Her response was immediate. Call him. I looked at the time. 8:47 a.m. Too early? Another text from Jordan. It's not too early. Call him now. I opened the message thread with Marcus Chen and typed, Thank you. I'd really appreciate a consultation. When are you available? His response came within 2 minutes. I have time this afternoon if you're free. My office at 2 p.m.? I had work at 3. I could push it. I'll be there, I typed. And just like that, I had a lawyer. I looked at the spreadsheet one more time. 18 months. 43 screenshots. A timeline of lies. I saved the file as Veil, Family, Financial, Abuse, Evidence. 2020 negative, 2021. XLLSX. Then I opened my email and forwarded everything to Marcus Chen. The subject line. Documentation for this afternoon's consultation. I hit send, and I realized I'd stopped shaking. Jordan showed up at my apartment at 11 a.m. with coffee and bagels. You haven't eaten, she said, pushing past me into the studio. It wasn't a question. I've been working. You've been spiraling. She set the food on my counter, looked at my laptop screen still open to the spreadsheet, and shook her head. Cameron, when was the last time you slept? I slept. For how long? I didn't answer. Jordan closed my laptop. Eat, then talk. You have a lawyer meeting in 3 hours and you need to be coherent. I picked up the coffee, sipped it, realized I was starving. We sat on my bed, the only place to sit in a studio apartment, and I ate while Jordan watched me with that expression she got when she was worried but trying not to show it. Tell me what you found, she finally said. I told her everything. The tax returns showing 0 education expenses, the bank statements documenting $90,000 in wedding transfers, the intercepted inheritance, the timeline of denials that perfectly coincided with payments to Olivia. Jordan's face went through several expressions. Shock, disgust, anger. They stole from you, she said when I finished. Technically, the inheritance was given to them. Not directly to me. Cameron, Jordan grabbed my hand. They stole from you. Your grandmother left money for her grandchildren. They kept yours and gave it to Olivia. That's theft. Legally, I don't know if. Fuck legally for a second. Morally, ethically. I felt something crack open in my chest. Permission. Jordan was giving me permission to be angry. Yeah, I whispered. They did. And the denials? The "we can't afford it" bullshit while they were paying for a $150,000 wedding? Financial abuse. That's what the lawyer called it in his message. Jordan nodded slowly. What do you want to happen here? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I want them to admit it, I said. I want them to stop pretending this was about teaching me lessons or building my character. I want everyone who's ever told me I was being sensitive or ungrateful to see the receipts. I want— my voice broke. I want them to acknowledge that they failed me. Jordan squeezed my hand. Okay. So we make that happen. We? You think I'm letting you do this alone? She pulled out her phone. I'm coming to the lawyer meeting. You need a witness, someone to take notes, someone to make sure you don't downplay what they did, because Cameron, you have a habit of minimizing your own pain. I don't— You asked for $500 for a dental emergency and they said no. You apologized to me 3 times while telling me that story. You apologized for needing a root canal. I stared at her. I did? You did. Because they trained you to believe that needing anything was an inconvenience, that asking for help was burdensome, that you should be grateful for scraps while Olivia got the whole damn feast. Tears burned behind my eyes. Jordan, I'm coming to the meeting, she said firmly, and I'm going to make sure that lawyer understands exactly how deliberate this was. Because you're going to try to give them the benefit of the doubt. You're going to say, maybe they didn't realize, maybe it wasn't intentional. But Cameron, people don't accidentally intercept $25,000. They don't accidentally deny you $500 while spending $8,500 on a dress in the same month. This was calculated. I let the tears fall. Jordan pulled me into a hug, and I sobbed into her shoulder. 6 years of denial, of minimizing, of telling myself it wasn't that bad. It was that bad. They invoiced you, Jordan said quietly, still holding me. They sent you a bill for loving you. And that tells you everything you need to know about who they are. I pulled back, wiped my face. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I want to sue them or just expose them. Make sure everyone knows? The lawyer will help you figure that out. That's literally his job. What if he says I don't have a case? Then we find another way. But Cameron, you have bank statements. You have emails. You have a fucking invoice they sent you. You have a case. I looked at my laptop, closed on the counter. Inside it, 43 screenshots, 18 months of documented lies. An invoice that had gone viral because it was so absurdly cruel that strangers on the internet had rallied to my defense. I'm scared, I admitted. Good. You should be. You're about to go to war with your parents. That's terrifying. Jordan stood up, pulled me to my feet. But you're not doing it alone. You have me. You have half your extended family, based on that group chat. You have a lawyer who reached out to you. And you have evidence. So yeah, be scared. But don't back down. I nodded. Took a shaky breath. Okay. Okay. We go to the meeting. We figure out the options. We build a real case. Exactly. Jordan checked her phone. It's 11:30. Meeting's at 2. You need to shower, get dressed, and eat something else. I'll organize your evidence files while you're in the bathroom. We're going into that office prepared. Jordan, thank you. For everything. She hugged me again, quick and fierce. That's what family does, Cameron. Real family. The kind that doesn't invoice you for existing. I laughed, even through the tears. Real family. Now go shower. You smell like stress and old coffee. Marcus Chen's office was in a modest building in Cambridge, 3 blocks from the courthouse. Jordan and I arrived 15 minutes early and sat in the waiting room, a folder of printed evidence on my lap. At exactly 2 p.m., the door opened and a man in his late 30s appeared. Glasses, neat suit, kind eyes. Cameron Vale? I stood. Yes, this is my friend Jordan. I hope it's okay that she— Of course. Support is important. He shook both our hands. Marcus Chen. Come on back. His office was small but organized. Diplomas on the wall, Harvard Law, I noted. Shelves full of legal texts. A desk covered in case files but not chaotic. We sat. He folded his hands and looked at me directly. I saw your post, he said. 4 million people saw your post. But before we talk about legal options, I need to hear the full story from you. Start wherever feels right. I started with the MIT acceptance, with the invoice, with the discovery of the bank statements. Jordan interjected when I downplayed things. She asked for $500 for a dental emergency. They said no. That same month, they paid $8,500 for her sister's wedding dress. I handed Marcus the folder. He opened it and started reading. For 10 minutes, he said nothing. Just read. Flipped through bank statements, studied the timeline spreadsheet, read emails. Finally, he looked up. This is one of the most clear-cut cases of financial favoritism I've seen in 15 years of family law. Something in my chest loosened. Validation. From an expert. Is it illegal? I asked. Not in the criminal sense. Parents have no legal obligation to support adult children equally. But he held up a hand as my face fell. What they did crosses into a gray area we call financial abuse. And the invoice? That's harassment, possibly extortion, depending on how we frame it. Extortion? They demanded money from you with the implied threat of emotional consequences. Pay us or we'll what? Withhold affection? Exclude you further? That's leverage. That's coercion. Jordan leaned forward. So she can sue them? She can. Civil suit for intentional infliction of emotional distress. We'd argue a pattern of discriminatory financial treatment that caused psychological harm. The invoice is the smoking gun, but he tapped the timeline spreadsheet. This is the foundation. This shows intent. Deliberate, repeated choices to harm one child while benefiting another. What would I get if I sued? I asked. Money. Potentially. Damages for emotional distress. Reimbursement for what they should have contributed to your education, based on what they gave your sister. We could argue for the intercepted inheritance that $20,000 difference. We'd be looking at somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 if we win. I felt dizzy. That much money would change my life. Pay off my loans. Give me a safety net. What's the downside? Jordan asked. Marcus met my eyes. It's public. It's brutal. Your parents will hire a lawyer who'll try to paint you as greedy, ungrateful, vindictive. They'll argue that parenting decisions aren't subject to legal review. They'll drag your sister into it. It'll take months, maybe a year. And at the end, even if you win, you'll never have a relationship with them again. She doesn't have a relationship with them now, Jordan said. No, I said quietly. I don't. Marcus nodded. Then we consider other options. Mediation, a demand letter, public exposure without legal action. Or, and this is what I'd recommend, starting with a cease and desist letter, specifically about the invoice, combined with a formal demand. Demand for what? Apology, voiding of the invoice, payment toward your student loans, to partially balance what they gave your sister. We send it certified mail, give them 10 days to respond, and see what happens. If they refuse, we escalate. If they comply, you have a paper trail of them admitting wrongdoing. I looked at Jordan. She nodded. Let's do that, I said. The letter. Marcus pulled out a legal pad. Okay. Let's outline exactly what you want. And Cameron, this is your decision. Not mine, not Jordan's. What do you actually want from them? I thought about it. Really sat with the question. I want them to admit they treated me unfairly. In writing, I want the invoice officially voided, and I want them to pay off my student loans $43,000, not as a gift, as restitution for what they should have done in the first place. Marcus wrote it all down. That's reasonable, especially given the $150,000 they spent on your sister. We'll draft a demand letter outlining these terms, citing the evidence, and invoking the threat of a civil suit if they don't comply. They'll probably lawyer up, but at minimum, we'll establish that this isn't going away quietly. How much will this cost? I asked. I can't afford. Pro bono. I meant what I said in my message. This case bothers me. Parents weaponizing money against their children, it's something I see too often, and usually, the kids have no recourse. But you have documentation. You have a platform. We can make noise with this. A platform? Your post went viral. That gives you leverage. Public opinion is on your side. If we send this demand letter and they refuse, you can post about that too. Sometimes the threat of continued exposure is more powerful than a lawsuit. Jordan grinned. I like him. So did I. We spent the next 30 minutes going through every piece of evidence. Marcus took notes, asked clarifying questions, had me sign a retainer agreement for pro bono representation. I'll have a draft of the demand letter by tomorrow, he said as we stood to leave. You review it, we refine it, and we send it by end of week. Then we wait. What if they come after me? I asked. Legally. What if they sue me for defamation or something? They won't. Because truth is an absolute defense to defamation, and everything you posted is documented. They'd have to prove you lied. They can't. We shook hands again. As Jordan and I walked out of the office, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the fragile, desperate hope of a child wanting her parents' approval. Real hope. The kind built on evidence and legal standing and an attorney who believed me. We're doing this, Jordan said as we reached my car. We're doing this, I echoed. And for the first time since the invoice arrived, I smiled. The demand letter arrived in my inbox the next morning at 9:14 a.m. Subject: Draft. Demand letter to Richard and Helen Vale. I opened it. Read it 3 times. Marcus had transformed my pain into legal language. Every documented disparity, every denied request, every dollar of the $150,000 wedding budget. It was all there, cited with precision. The letter concluded with 3 demands. Written acknowledgement of discriminatory financial treatment. Formal voiding of the $2,100 invoice. Payment of $43,000 toward Cameron Vale's student loans as partial restitution. Deadline: 10 days from receipt of this letter. Consequence of noncompliance: civil litigation for intentional infliction of emotional distress, with full evidence submitted to court and public record. It was perfect. I called Marcus. It's exactly what I wanted. Send it. You're sure? Once this goes out, there's no walking it back. I'm sure. Okay. I'll send it certified mail today. They'll have it by Monday. Clock starts then. After I hung up, I sat with my laptop and started gathering more evidence. If they refused the demand, I needed to be ready for the next level. I pulled up my parents' Facebook accounts, started scrolling backward through years of posts. What I found was staggering. In the past 3 years alone, 153 posts about Olivia. Accomplishments, photos, celebrations, engagement updates, wedding planning. 4 posts about me. 3 birthday acknowledgments, generic. Happy birthday to our daughter Cameron. 1 shared post from MIT's official page about their incoming graduate class. I took screenshots of all 157 posts. Created a new folder. Social media evidence. Then I searched for posts mentioning money or gifts. Found one from Olivia's 24th birthday. Surprised our girl with a weekend trip to Napa. She deserves the world. Photos of vineyards, fancy dinners. Estimated cost: $2,000 plus. My 24th birthday post. Happy birthday, Cameron. 1 emoji. No photo, no mention of a gift. Because there hadn't been a gift. I kept digging. Found a post from my parents' 30th wedding anniversary. Celebrating 3 decades of love. So grateful for our family, especially our beautiful daughters. Photo: Mom, Dad, Olivia. I wasn't in the picture. I'd been working a double shift that day and couldn't get time off. The comments on that post were telling. Aunt Linda. Where's Cameron? Mom. She couldn't make it. Work commitments. No mention that she'd never told me about the dinner until the day of. No mention that when I'd said I couldn't get coverage on 4 hours' notice, she'd sighed and said, Olivia made it work. I screenshot everything. Next, I pulled up my email archives and searched for every financial request I'd ever made. Built a comprehensive list. Cameron's requests to parents 2019 to 2024. Car repair, $800. Denied. Security deposit, $600. Denied. Textbooks, $400. Winter coat, $100. Denied. Root canal, $500. Denied. Emergency rent, $500. Denied. Graduation gift, no amount requested. Received invoice instead. Total requested, $2,900. Total received, -$2,000. $100 owed per invoice. I created a parallel list for Olivia based on bank statements and social media posts. Confirmed gifts, payments to Olivia, 2019 to 2024. Undergraduate tuition, $240,000, full 4 years. Car for 16th birthday, $12,000. Study abroad supplement, $2,000. Holiday trip to Aspen, to $3,000. Senior year laptop, $1,400. Post-graduation Europe trip, to $5,000. Wedding budget, $150,000. Inheritance reallocation, $20,000. Total, $433,400. $433,000 versus -$2,100. I stared at the numbers. Even I was shocked by the total. Jordan came over that evening and I showed her everything. This is insane, she breathed. Cameron, they spent almost $500,000 on Olivia. And they invoiced you for graduation. I know. No, I don't think you do. This isn't favoritism. This is they treated her like a daughter and you like a tenant who was behind on rent. The accuracy of that hurt. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Hi Cameron, this is your cousin Jake. Got your number from Jordan. I want to help. I have some information about your parents that I think you should know. Can we talk? I showed Jordan. She nodded. Jake's solid. He's been vocal in the group chat. See what he knows. I called him. Cameron, hey! Jake's voice was tight. Listen, I don't know if this matters, but I was at your parents' house last Christmas. I overheard your mom and Aunt Susan talking. Your mom said, and I quote, "We've decided Cameron needs to learn to be self-sufficient. Olivia needs more support because she's more sensitive." My stomach dropped. She said that? Word for word. And Aunt Susan pushed back, said it wasn't fair. Your mom said, Cameron's always been resilient. She'll be fine. Olivia needs us more. They decided. They made a conscious decision. Yeah, it wasn't accidental. It was policy. I thanked Jake and hung up. Immediately called Marcus and told him. That's gold, he said. That's proof of intent. If Jake will give a sworn statement, we include it. The narrative becomes, parents made deliberate choice to favor one child and financially punish the other. He'll do it, I'll ask. By the end of the week, I had 43 bank statement screenshots, 157 social media post screenshots, 12 email chains documenting denials, a spreadsheet showing $433,400 versus -$2,000, $100. Sworn statement from Jake about overheard conversation. Sworn statement from Aunt Linda about multiple instances of observed favoritism. Sworn statement from my college roommate about the time I'd cried over not being able to afford groceries. Marcus compiled everything into a master evidence file, 78 pages. If they refuse the demand letter, he said, we file a civil suit with this as our exhibit list. No judge will look at this and think you're overreacting. The letter was sent on a Tuesday. Certified mail. Signature required. On Thursday, I got a notification. Package delivered. Signed by Richard Vale. The 10-day clock started. I waited. On day 3, my phone rang. Mom's number. I didn't answer. Let it go to voicemail. Cameron, we need to talk about this letter. This is ridiculous. You can't sue your own parents. Call me back. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just anger that I dared to push back. I saved the voicemail. Sent it to Marcus. Perfect, he said. She's already establishing that they have no intention of complying. Keep ignoring them. Let the deadline pass. Day 7. Dad sent an email to the family group chat. Cameron's attorney has sent us a threatening letter demanding money and apologies. This is a family matter that should be handled privately. We're disappointed that Cameron has chosen to escalate this instead of communicating directly. Aunt Linda responded immediately. Richard, you invoiced her. She tried to communicate. You billed her. There's nothing left to discuss privately. Grandfather James, pay your daughter what you owe her or answer to a judge. Your choice. Day 10 arrived. No apology, no payment, no compliance. Marcus called me at 5 p.m. Deadline passed. They're in breach. We file the lawsuit tomorrow morning. Are you ready? I looked at the evidence folder on my laptop. 78 pages of proof. Years of pain, quantified and documented. I'm ready, I said. Okay, I'll prep the complaint tonight. We file first thing. This is going to get loud, Cameron. Media will probably pick it up. Your family will fracture further. You'll be questioned and criticized, and your parents will fight dirty. Are you prepared for that? I thought about the invoice, the intercepted inheritance, the $500 I'd been denied while my sister got $8,500 for a dress. They already fought dirty, I said. I'm just fighting back. Good. I'll call you when it's filed. I hung up and sat in my apartment, the city lights glowing through my window. Tomorrow, I was suing my parents. And I wasn't scared anymore. The lawsuit was filed on a Friday morning at 9:07 a.m. Marcus called me at 9:15. It's done. Case filed with Suffolk County Superior Court. Your parents will be served within 48 hours. I was at my research position, sitting in a lab, staring at code I couldn't focus on. What happens now? They have 21 days to respond. They'll hire a lawyer, probably already have one on retainer, given your dad's a corporate attorney. Their lawyer will try to get it dismissed. We'll argue against dismissal. If the judge lets it proceed, we move to discovery. Discovery? Both sides exchange evidence, depositions, interrogatories. It's where we really build the case. But, Cameron, he paused. There's something else. A reporter from the Boston Globe called my office. They saw the original viral post and heard about the lawsuit through court filings. They want to interview you. My heart jumped. Should I? That's your call. It'll amplify everything. Make it harder for your parents to control the narrative. But it also means national attention. I'll think about it. But I already knew my answer. That evening, Jordan came over with takeout. We sat on my bed and I told her about the Globe. Do it, she said immediately. Your story needs to be told. How many other kids are dealing with this shit and think they're crazy? You have proof. You have a platform. Use it. My parents will lose their minds. Good. They should. I pulled up my laptop and emailed the reporter. I'm willing to be interviewed. When works for you? The response came in 10 minutes. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., coffee shop near MIT? I agreed. The interview happened in a corner booth at a cafe I used to study in. The reporter, Sarah Chen, mid-30s, sharp eyes, recorded everything on her phone. Tell me why you're suing your parents, she said. I told her everything. The invoice, the wedding budget, The intercepted inheritance, the pattern of denials, the $433,400 disparity. She took notes furiously. This is extraordinary. You have documentation? 78 pages. Would you be willing to share excerpts for the article? I looked at Jordan, who'd come with me. She nodded. Yes, I said. Sarah's article ran 4 days later. Front page of the Metro section. MIT grad sues parents. After $2,100, graduation invoice reveals years of financial favoritism. The article included excerpts from bank statements, quotes from the demand letter, my interview, and a photo me standing outside the courthouse, holding my MIT diploma. The article went viral within hours. National news picked it up. CNN, NBC, The Washington Post. By evening, I had 17 interview requests. Marcus called. This is bigger than I expected. Good Morning America wants you for tomorrow. Are you ready for that level of exposure? Yes. Okay, I'll coordinate. But Cameron, your parents are going to retaliate. Expect it. He was right. That night, my dad posted on Facebook, "It's heartbreaking when a child you've loved and supported chooses litigation over communication. We're devastated by Cameron's actions and the public lies being spread. We've always treated our daughters equally and with love. We won't be commenting further on this painful family matter." The post had 340 likes within an hour. Comments flooded in from people who didn't know the full story. So sad when kids turn on their parents. Money makes people greedy. She should be ashamed. But then, the tide shifted. Aunt Linda commented, "Richard, you invoiced your daughter and gave Olivia $150K. Stop lying." Grandfather James, "Enough, son. The bank statements don't lie. You failed, Cameron." Cousin Jake, "I heard you say you were treating them differently on purpose. Own it." Other family members piled on. The post became a battleground. By midnight, Dad had deleted it. But screenshots lived forever. I'd saved it, so had a dozen relatives. Marcus sent me a text. "Your father's post is evidence of defamation attempt. We'll use it." The Good Morning America interview aired 3 days later. 6 million viewers. The host asked the question everyone wanted answered. What do you want from your parents? I looked directly into the camera. Acknowledgement, honesty, and the same investment they gave my sister. Not more, just equal. The segment ended with the host saying, "The lawsuit is ongoing. We reached out to Cameron's parents for comment. They declined." After that, everything accelerated. My parents hired a high-profile attorney. Marcus received their response to the lawsuit, motion to dismiss, arguing that parental financial decisions are not subject to judicial review. "Expected," Marcus said. "We'll fight it." The invoice changes everything. That's not a parenting decision. It's harassment. We had a hearing scheduled for 3 weeks out. But before that, something else happened. My family's annual 4th of July gathering. My parents hosted it every year. Big backyard party, 50+ relatives. I hadn't gone in 2 years. Always had an excuse. This year, my mom sent an invitation to the family group chat. Annual July 4th celebration at our home. Hoping to see everyone. It's been a difficult year, but family is what matters most. The subtext was clear. Come, show support for us. The wronged parents. I stared at the invitation for a long time. Then I texted Marcus. If I showed up and confronted them publicly, with evidence, in front of the whole family, would that hurt the case? His response, no, might help. Shows you tried to resolve it directly. But Cameron, are you sure you want to do that? I thought about it for 2 days. Then I RSVP'd. I'll be there. Jordan's text came immediately. What are you doing? Ending this? I typed back. One way or another. July 4th arrived hot and humid, the kind of Boston summer day where the air felt like soup. I spent the morning preparing. I'd created a presentation, a slideshow, with the key evidence: the invoice, the wedding budget, the bank statements, the social media disparity, the timeline. 15 slides, 10 minutes. Undeniable proof. I saved it to a USB drive, packed my laptop, put both in my bag. Jordan called at noon. "You're really doing this." "I'm really doing this. I'm coming with you." "You're not walking into that alone." "Jordan, you don't have to. I'm already in my car." "I'll meet you there." She hung up before I could argue. I drove to my parents' house in a daze. The route was muscle memory. I'd made this drive 1,000 times growing up. But today, it felt different. Final. I parked 2 blocks away, sat in my car for 10 minutes, breathing. My phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. "Good luck. Call me after. Whatever happens, you're not alone." Another text, this one from Olivia. "Cameron, I heard you're coming today. Please don't make a scene. I know you're angry, but can we just have one peaceful family day?" I didn't respond. At 2 p.m., I walked up the driveway. Jordan met me at the corner, her face set with determination. "Ready?" she asked. "No, but we're doing it anyway." The backyard was exactly as I remembered. String lights hanging between trees, folding tables covered in red, white, and blue tablecloths, a grill smoking in the corner, kids running around with sparklers, and people. So many people. I counted quickly. 52. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, family friends. My parents were at the center of it all. Dad at the grill, flipping burgers, Mom laughing with a group of relatives, holding a glass of wine. They looked so normal, so warm, so innocent. For a second, I wavered. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe. Then Mom saw me. Character. That's what I got instead of equity. Character instead of the SAT prep course they paid for Olivia to take twice. Character instead of the college tour road trip they took her on, visiting 7 schools in 5 states, while I stayed home and worked my shift at the grocery store. When it came time to apply to colleges, I knew better than to ask for help. I filled out applications on my breaks at work, wrote essays on my phone during bus rides, submitted everything with a fee waiver because I couldn't afford the application costs. I got into the state school with a partial scholarship. It would cover 60% of tuition. The rest, housing, fees, books, food, transportation, was on me. "We're so proud of you," Mom said when I told her. "You're going to college." Olivia was already finishing her sophomore year at a private liberal arts school that cost $60,000 annually. Paid in full. No loans, no work study. She spent her summers studying abroad in France and Italy while I worked double shifts at the coffee shop to make rent. I wanted to be bitter. I tried not to be. Bitterness felt like letting them win. So I worked. I worked 40 hours a week while taking 18 credit hours per semester. I graduated in 3.5 years to save money. I lived in the cheapest apartment I could find, a studio with black mold in the bathroom and a landlord who ignored maintenance requests. I ate ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. I studied in the library because I couldn't afford to heat my apartment in winter. My GPA was 4. Perfect. I won departmental awards. I was named a National Merit Scholar. I landed 3 competitive internships, each one building toward my dream of working in artificial intelligence research. And through it all, my parents remained distracted. They came to Olivia's soccer games, her art shows, her college graduation. They posted about her constantly, every achievement, every milestone, every mundane Tuesday afternoon. Their Facebook pages were shrines to her existence. For me, they managed the bare minimum. They came to my state school graduation, arrived late, left early, took one photo. Dad's thumb was over the lens. Mom posted it anyway. No caption. When I told them I was applying to MIT for graduate school, Dad's first question was, "How much will that cost us?" "Nothing," I said. "I'm applying for fellowships. Full rides only." He nodded. satisfied. Good, because Olivia's wedding is going to be expensive. Olivia had gotten engaged 6 months before I applied to MIT. Her fiancé, Derek, was a corporate attorney with a trust fund and a vacation home. They didn't need financial help, but our parents insisted. "We want to give our daughter the wedding she deserves," Mom said. The budget was $150,000. I found out because Olivia told me, giddy with excitement, showing me spreadsheets of venues and catering packages. She didn't mean to rub it in. She didn't know that I was eating 2 meals a day to save money, that I was wearing shoes with holes in the soles, that I'd cried in a CVS parking lot the week before because I couldn't afford both my medication and groceries. She didn't know because I didn't tell her, because the script I'd learned was that my struggles were character building and her joys were family celebrations. "I'm so happy for you," I told her. And I meant it. Olivia wasn't the villain. She was just the favorite. The week I got my MIT acceptance, Mom and Dad took Olivia to tour the wedding venue. They stayed at a bed and breakfast. They posted photos of the gardens, the ballroom, the perfect setting for our princess. I was in my apartment, trying to figure out how to afford professional clothes for graduate school interviews. When I called to tell them about the scholarship, full tuition, full fees, a stipend of $32,000 a year, Mom said, "That's nice, honey. Did you know the venue deposit is $15,000? Can you believe that? $15,000 just to hold the date." "That's a lot," I said. "Worth every penny," she replied. I started keeping a tally. Not out of spite, but out of a desperate need to understand the math. Olivia's undergraduate education, $240,000. My undergraduate education, $43,000 in loans I was still paying off. Olivia's car, $12,000. My car, $1,800, purchased with my own money after saving for 2 years. Olivia's wedding budget, $150,000. My graduation gift from MIT, TBD, but I wasn't optimistic. The numbers didn't lie. But I kept hoping the people would. 3 weeks before my graduation, I sent a detailed email to my parents with all the ceremony information: date, time, location, hotel recommendations, restaurant reservation for after. I'd even included a printable parking pass. Dad responded, "Got it. We'll be there." Mom didn't respond. She was too busy posting about Olivia's bridal shower, an event at a country club that cost more than my rent for 6 months. But they'd confirmed. They were coming. I let myself believe it. I bought a new dress for the ceremony, splurging on something that made me feel capable and accomplished. I got my hair cut. I printed extra programs so they'd have something to keep. I even wrote a small speech in my head, something I'd say at dinner after the ceremony. Something about how their support, even when it felt thin, had mattered. How I was grateful. How I'd made them proud. I practiced it alone in my apartment, voice cracking with emotion I didn't want to name. This was MIT. They'd show up. They'd finally see me. And for a few days, I believed it. Graduation morning started at 5:47 a.m., when my alarm went off, and my stomach immediately knotted with anxiety. I showered. I dried my hair. I put on the navy dress I'd bought specifically for this day, professional. Clean-lined, the kind of dress that said, "I belong here." I stared at myself in the mirror and tried to believe it. My hands were shaking. I'd texted my parents the night before. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Ceremony starts at 10 a.m. Meet at Kresge Auditorium by 9:30? Dad had responded. "We'll be there." Mom had hearted the message. I drove to campus early, parked in the graduate lot, and walked across the quad as the sun came up. MIT in May was beautiful trees blooming, students in regalia gathering for photos, families setting up blankets on the lawn. There was an electricity in the air, a sense of culmination. 312 students were graduating with master's degrees that day. I was one of them. I'd survived 4 years of undergrad while working myself to exhaustion. I'd gotten into one of the most competitive graduate programs in the world. I'd earned a full scholarship. I'd finished my thesis 3 weeks early. I'd done everything right. And today, my parents were going to watch me walk across the stage. By 9:15 a.m., I was in Kresge Auditorium, scanning the crowd for them. Rows of folding chairs stretched across the venue, families claiming seats, programs rustling. I'd saved 2 seats in the front row. Section B, seats 14 and 15. Prime location, right where they'd have a perfect view. 9:30 came. They weren't there. I texted, "Are you close?" No response. 9:45. The seats were still empty. I called. Voicemail. At 9:52, Dad texted, "Running a few minutes late. Traffic." Okay. Traffic. That made sense. It was fine. The ceremony started at 10:04 a.m. The seats were still empty. I kept my phone in my lap under my gown, checking compulsively. No new messages. I craned my neck to look at the entrance. Families were still trickling in, but none of them were mine. At 10:23, they arrived. I saw them slip into the back of the auditorium, Mom in a floral dress, Dad in khakis and a button-down. Not dressed up, not carrying flowers or a card. They found seats in the last row, near the exit. Relief flooded through me so intensely I almost cried. They came. They actually came. The ceremony proceeded. Dean's welcome, faculty speeches, student awards. I kept glancing back at them, trying to catch their eyes. Mom was on her phone. Dad was staring into the middle distance. When my name was called, Cameron Vale, Master of Science in Computer Science, thesis on neural network optimization in autonomous systems, I walked across the stage, shook the dean's hand, accepted my diploma. I looked at the back row. Mom was still on her phone. Dad was checking his watch. They didn't clap. At least, I couldn't hear them if they did. The ceremony ended at 11:47 a.m. I made my way through the crowd, diploma in hand, searching for them. I found them near the exit, already standing, clearly ready to leave. "You made it," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "Of course we did," Mom said. She gave me a quick, stiff hug. "Congratulations, honey." "Proud of you," Dad added. His hug was even stiffer. "Thank you for coming," I said. "I made reservations for lunch. There's this great place near campus. We can celebrate." "Actually, we need to get going," Dad interrupted. "Traffic on the way back is going to be terrible." I blinked. "But the ceremony just ended. I thought we could spend some time together." Mom adjusted her purse. "Honey, we have a lot going on. Olivia's dress fitting is tomorrow morning, and we need to get back to help her prepare." "It's a 3-hour drive," I said, hearing the desperation creep into my voice. "You could stay for lunch, 1 hour." "We really can't," Dad said firmly. "We'll celebrate another time." Another time. The words hung in the air between us, hollow and weightless. "Okay," I whispered. Mom gave me one more quick hug. "We're so proud of you, Cameron. You did this all on your own." They left. I stood in Kresge Auditorium, surrounded by 311 other graduates and their families, holding my diploma, watching my parents disappear through the exit. "All on your own." The words echoed. Her face went through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Surprise. Panic. Forced smile. She walked over, arms outstretched for a hug I didn't return. "Cameron, you came. I'm so glad you could make it." Her voice was too loud. Performative. Everyone was watching. "Hi, Mom. Let me get you some food. Are you hungry? Your father made his famous ribs." "Actually, I need to talk to everyone. I have something to share." Her smile faltered. "Honey, today's not really the time for—" "It's exactly the time." I walked past her toward the makeshift podium area, a small table where Dad usually gave his annual "thank you for coming" speech. Jordan followed, setting up my laptop on the table. She connected it to the outdoor projector Dad used for photo slideshows. The projector screen was already set up, blank and white against the fence. People started noticing. Conversations died. Kids stopped running. Dad walked over from the grill, spatula still in hand. Sharing some family photos, I said calmly. Isn't that what we do at these things? Cameron. His voice was low, warning. Do what? Tell the truth? Mom appeared at his side, her face pale. Please. Not here. Not now. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Saw the fear in her eyes. Good. Everyone, I called out, voice steady. Can I have your attention for a few minutes? I have a presentation I'd like to share. 52 people turned to face me. Olivia was in the back, hand over her mouth. Aunt Linda was in the front, arms crossed, nodding at me. Grandfather James sat down in a folding chair, his face grim but supportive. Jordan stood beside me, hand on my shoulder. I clicked to the first slide. The projector flickers to life. White screen. Then my title slide appears, 10 feet wide. The invoice. A case study in financial favoritism. Someone gasps. I don't look to see who. 3 months ago. I begin, voice clear. I graduated from MIT with a master's degree in computer science. Full scholarship. My parents attended. They sat in the back row. They left immediately after. Click. Next slide. The invoice. Massive. Every line item visible. Mom's time. $900. Dad's time. $900. Emotional labor. $300. Total due. $2,100. The backyard goes silent. Not quiet. Silent. Like sound itself has stopped. 3 days later, they sent me this. My voice doesn't shake. An invoice. For their time at my graduation. Cameron, stop this right now! Dad's voice, hard and cold. I don't stop. Click. Next slide. Olivia's wedding budget. Total. $150,000. Contributed by parents. $150,000. Contributed by bride and groom. $0. While they billed me $2,100 for 2.5 hours, they gave my sister $150,000. Gifted. No invoice. No expectation of repayment. Olivia makes a small sound. I still don't look at her. Click. Bank statement. March 2020. The inheritance deposit. My grandmother left money for her grandchildren when she died. I received a check for $5,000. I thought I was lucky. My voice hardens. But my parents received $25,000 in my name. They kept it. Gave it to Olivia's wedding fund. Aunt Linda stands up. Helen, is this true? Mom's face is white. This is private financial. Is it true? Linda's voice cracks like thunder. Mom says nothing. Click. Timeline slide. 18 months of denials and approvals, side by side. June 2020. Cameron requests $500, dental emergency. Denied. Olivia receives $8,500, wedding dress. Approved. September 2020. Cameron requests $400 textbooks. Denied. Olivia receives $6,000, photographer. Someone starts crying. I think it's grandmother Dorothy. For 18 months, I continue. Every time I asked for help, small amounts. Emergencies, I was told they couldn't afford it. That money was tight. That I needed to be self-sufficient. Click. Next slide. The total comparison. Olivia, 2019 to 2024. $433,400. Cameron, 2019 to 2024. Negative $2,100. The negative number is in red. Gasps. Actual gasps. $433,000 versus negative $2,100. Uncle Marco stands. Richard. Explain this. Dad's face is red, furious. This is a family matter. Cameron is airing private. Private? I cut him off. You made it public when you invoiced me. You made it public when you posted about Olivia's wedding 153 times on Facebook, while mentioning me 4 times in 4 years. Click. Screenshot compilation. Mom's Facebook. Dad's Facebook. Post after post about Olivia. 153 posts about her. 4 about me. 3 were birthday acknowledgements. 1 was a share from MIT's page. Not even your own words. Mom's wine glass slips from her hand, shatters on the patio. No one moves to clean it. Click. Next slide. Direct quote. We've decided Cameron needs to learn to be self-sufficient. Olivia needs more support because she's more sensitive. Helen Vale. December 2023. Overheard by Jake Vale. Jake stands up from where he's sitting. I heard you say that, Aunt Helen. Word for word. I gave a sworn statement to Cameron's lawyer. Mom turns to him, betrayed. You said it, Jake says flatly. You made a choice, a deliberate choice to favor Olivia and punish Cameron. We didn't punish anyone, Dad shouts. We made parenting decisions based on each child's needs. I needed a root canal. My voice rings out. Louder than I intended. 52 people flinch. Silence. I take a breath. Lower my voice. I needed dental care. I needed textbooks. I needed a winter coat. I needed help. And you said no. Every single time. While she got everything. Olivia is crying openly now. Cam. I know you didn't. I look at her for the first time. This isn't about you. It's about them. Click. Final slide. What I'm asking for. 1. Acknowledgement of discriminatory treatment. 2. Formal apology. 3. Payment of $43,000, my student loans, as partial restitution. That's all, I say. Not $433,400. Not equal. Just enough to pay off the debt I wouldn't have if they'd treated me like they treated her. Dad steps forward. You're demanding money? That's what this is about? You're suing us for money. I'm suing you for acknowledgement. My voice breaks for the first time. I'm suing you because you billed me for loving me. Because you made me feel worthless. Because you lied to my face for years while I struggled and she thrived and you told me it was all in my head. Tears stream down my face now. I don't wipe them away. I worked 3 jobs in college. I ate ramen for months. I wore shoes with holes in them. I cried in parking lots because I couldn't afford both medicine and food. And you, I point at them, handshaking. You had the money. You just decided I wasn't worth spending it on. Mom sinks into a chair. We were trying to teach you. You taught me. My voice is steel now. You taught me that love is conditional, that I have to earn it, that no matter what I achieve, I'll never be enough. You taught me that. Grandfather James stands, walks to me, puts his hand on my shoulder. I'm ashamed of my son, he says loudly, to the entire gathering. Ashamed of what he's done to his daughter. Cameron, I'm sorry. I should have seen it sooner. Aunt Linda joins him. Then Uncle Marco. Then Cousin Jake. Then Maria. They form a wall between me and my parents. We see it now, Linda says. We see what you did. Dad looks around at his family, half of them standing with me, half of them staring at him in horror, a few still sitting in stunned silence. This is insane, he says. You're all being manipulated. We've seen the bank statements, Richard. Grandfather's voice is ice. Stop lying. Mom starts sobbing. Real, ugly sobs. We gave her everything. You gave her everything, I say, pointing at Olivia. The backyard erupts, everyone talking at once, some yelling at my parents, some comforting me, some standing frozen. Olivia walks over to my parents. Her face is streaked with tears. Did you really intercept Cameron's inheritance? She asks them. Mom doesn't answer. Did you? Olivia's voice rises. We made financial decisions we thought were best. Dad starts. Did you take her money? Silence. Then, quietly, Mom whispers, yes. Olivia steps back like she's been slapped. I'm paying for my own wedding, she says. I don't want money that should have been hers. I don't want any of this. She walks to me, hugs me. I'm so sorry, Cam. I'm so sorry. I hold her. Not your fault. Jordan hands me my laptop. We should go. I nod. Look at the crowd one more time. The lawsuit is filed, I say. Discovery starts in 3 weeks. If anyone wants to provide a statement about what they've witnessed, my lawyer's contact is on the last slide. I click. The slide shows Marcus Chen's email and office number. 15 people take photos of it with their phones. I pack up the laptop, disconnect the projector. Jordan and I walk toward the side gate. As we leave, I hear Grandfather James's voice behind us. Richard, Helen, you're no longer welcome at my home until you make this right. I mean that. We walk to my car in silence. Sit inside, stare at the dashboard. Holy shit, Jordan finally says. Yeah. My phone starts buzzing, text after text. Aunt Linda, so proud of you. Here if you need anything. Uncle Marco, you did the right thing. Cousin Maria, that took guts. You're incredible. Grandfather James, I've called my lawyer. I'm changing my will. Helen gets nothing. It's all going to you and Olivia equally. I start crying. Really crying. Not sad tears, relief tears. Jordan pulls me into a hug. You did it! I did it. They can't pretend anymore. No, they can't. We sit there for a long time, watching the sun set over my parents' house. Inside, their perfect family party has collapsed into chaos. And I feel, for the first time in my life, free. That night, I couldn't sleep. Jordan stayed over, camping on my floor in a sleeping bag, refusing to leave me alone. My phone didn't stop buzzing. Text messages flooded in from relatives who'd witnessed the confrontation. Aunt Linda sent a voice memo at 11 p.m. Cameron, your mother left the party in hysterics. Your father is trying to convince everyone you doctored the bank statements. No one's believing him. Half the family has already left. It's over for them. Cousin Jake. I've never been prouder of anyone. You're a goddamn hero. Uncle Marco. Your parents just tried to call me. I didn't answer. They're scrambling. You broke them. By midnight, someone had posted cell phone footage from the party. The moment I showed the invoice on the projector screen, my voice saying, "They billed me for loving me." My mother's face draining of color. The video had 340,000 views by 2 a.m. Jordan showed me her phone. It's everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, Reddit. People are calling it the graduation invoice confrontation. You're trending. I should have felt vindicated. Triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow. I'd just blown up my family in front of 52 witnesses and the internet. There was no going back from this. No reconciliation. No future where we'd gather for holidays and pretend everything was fine. I'd chosen the truth over the illusion of family. And I'd do it again. The next morning, Marcus called at 7 a.m. Cameron, I've had 12 people reach out offering witness statements. Your grandfather called me personally. He wants to fund your legal fees, said he won't let you fight this alone. I thought you were pro bono? I am. But he wants to establish a trust for you, for future security. He's serious about making this right. I started crying. Again. I'd cried more in the past 24 hours than in the past 5 years combined. Tell him thank you, I whispered. He's also suing your parents. Civil suit for fraud related to the inheritance interception. He's going after them hard, Cameron. You've got an army now. By evening, the story had been picked up by major news outlets again. CNN ran a segment titled, "Family Gathering Turns into Viral Confrontation Over Financial Favoritism." The Boston Globe published a follow-up with statements from 3 relatives who'd attended. My parents didn't comment publicly. but I heard through Olivia that they'd hired a crisis management PR firm. Too late. The truth was already out. The legal process took 4 months. My parents' attorney filed a motion to dismiss, arguing that adult children have no right to dictate parental spending. Marcus countered with the invoice evidence of harassment and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The judge denied the motion to dismiss. While parents generally have discretion in financial matters, she said from the bench, the act of invoicing an adult child for attendance at a graduation ceremony, combined with documented evidence of extreme financial disparity, raises legitimate questions of psychological harm. This case will proceed to discovery. Discovery was brutal. My parents were required to produce all financial records from the past 5 years, bank statements, credit card statements, tax returns, every dollar spent on Olivia, documented and itemized. The final tally came to $487,000, even more than I'd estimated. Marcus sat across from me in his office, spreadsheets covering his desk. Cameron, this is one of the most extreme cases of financial favoritism I've ever seen. We're not just talking about preference, this is systemic deprivation of one child while lavishing another. Will we win? Yes. The question is settlement or trial. I think they'll settle. Going to trial means all of this becomes public court record. They won't want that. He was right. 6 weeks into discovery, their attorney reached out. Our clients are willing to discuss settlement terms. We met in a conference room, me, Marcus, Jordan for support, my parents, and their attorney. It was the first time I'd seen them since the 4th of July. Mom looked like she'd aged 10 years, thin, hollow-eyed. She wouldn't look at me. Dad's jaw was set, face hard. He stared at the table. Their attorney spoke first. We're prepared to offer $25,000 as settlement. No admission of wrongdoing. Both parties sign an NDA prohibiting further public discussion. Marcus didn't even pause. Absolutely not. Our demand is $65,000 full student loan repayment plus damages, written apology, admitting to discriminatory financial treatment, no NDA, and a restraining order prohibiting contact with Cameron unless she initiates. That's outrageous, Dad started. Your clients invoiced their daughter for graduation, Marcus said coldly. They intercepted $20,000 of her inheritance. They denied her $500 for a dental emergency while spending $8,500 on her sister's dress in the same month. Outrageous is what they did. We're being generous. The attorney whispered with my parents for several minutes. Finally, we'll agree to $50,000. Written statement of regret, not an apology. No restraining order. But we'll agree to no contact unless Cameron initiates. That's our final offer. Marcus looked at me. Your call. I thought about it. $50,000 would pay off my loans and leave me with a cushion. The written statement, even if it wasn't a full apology, would be documented proof. No contact was what I wanted anyway. One more thing, I said. The invoice gets formally voided. In writing, dated and signed. Their attorney nodded. Agreed. Then I accept. We signed the settlement agreement 3 days later. My parents weren't present. They sent their attorney with power of attorney to sign on their behalf. The written statement was clinical and cold. Richard and Helen Vale acknowledged that their financial support of their daughters was not equitably distributed. They regret the pain this has caused Cameron Vale. The invoice dated date for $2,100 is hereby voided and deemed null and void. Both parties agree to no contact unless initiated by Cameron Vale. It wasn't a real apology. It didn't say, "We're sorry." It didn't acknowledge the deliberate cruelty. But it was truth. On paper, signed by them. Marcus handed me a check for $50,000. It's over. You won. I stared at the check. 5 years of student loan payments, security, freedom. I started crying. Marcus handed me tissues. You did this, he said. You stood up, you fought, and you won. Not everyone gets that ending. The family fallout was seismic. Grandfather James followed through on his promise. He cut my mother, his daughter-in-law, out of his will entirely. He established a trust fund for me and Olivia, split equally, $200,000 each, accessible when we turned 30. This is what equal looks like, he told me over dinner one night. Your parents should have learned that lesson decades ago. Aunt Linda hosted a Team Cameron gathering at her house, 18 relatives who'd sided with me. We didn't talk about my parents, we just celebrated. I finally felt like I had a family. Uncle Paul and Aunt Susan, the ones who'd sided with my parents, stopped speaking to most of the family. They sent me one email. You've destroyed this family. We hope you're happy. I deleted it without responding. Olivia kept her promise. She scaled down her wedding drastically. She and Derek paid for it themselves, a small ceremony at a local venue, $15,000 total. She invited me. Didn't invite our parents. They can't accept that they're the villains, she told me over coffee a month after the settlement. Dad keeps saying you manipulated everyone. Mom cries all the time but won't admit she did anything wrong. They've painted themselves as victims. Are you okay? I asked. I know this affects you too. I'm angry, she said honestly. I'm angry at them for doing this to you, and I'm angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. I knew they treated us differently, but I didn't know the extent. I should have. It wasn't your job to fix them. Maybe not, but I benefited from their cruelty. That makes me complicit. You're fixing it now. That's what matters. She hugged me. I love you, Cam. I'm glad you fought back. By the end of the year, the family structure had completely realigned. Team Cameron, Grandfather James, Aunt Linda, Uncle Marco, Olivia, 15 cousins, Grandmother Dorothy. Team Parents, Uncle Paul, Aunt Susan, 3 cousins. Switzerland, trying to stay neutral. 2 aunts, 4 cousins who felt torn. The holidays were split. Thanksgiving at Aunt Linda's house, 23 people, including me. My parents had dinner with Uncle Paul's family. 6 people total. Christmas was the same. I went to Grandfather James's house. Big gathering. Laughter, warmth, acceptance. I heard through Olivia that my parents spent Christmas alone in their house. Part of me felt guilty. The other part remembered the invoice. My father called me once, 3 months after the settlement. I answered. Cameron, his voice was stiff. Your mother wants to know if you'll consider family therapy. To work through this. Did she ask you to call? We both think. No. Silence. The settlement was your choice, I said. No contact unless I initiate. I'm not initiating. Don't call again. I hung up. He didn't call again. People ask me sometimes if I regretted it. If I wished I'd handled it differently. If I missed having parents. The truth? I miss the idea of having parents. I miss the fantasy of a family that loved me unconditionally. But I didn't miss them. The real them. The people who'd billed me for graduation. I was done grieving for something I'd never actually had. It's been 2 years since the 4th of July confrontation. I'm 27 now. Living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Cambridge that I actually like. No mold, no broken heater, a kitchen with counter space, a view of the river. The $50,000 settlement changed everything. I paid off my student loans in full, $43,000 gone in one payment. The weight that lifted from my chest was physical. For the first time since college, I could breathe without calculating interest rates. The remaining $7,000 went into savings, an emergency fund, security. Grandfather James's trust matured early. He released the funds when I turned 26. $200,000. Life-changing money. I bought a small condo, 1 bedroom, but it's mine. No landlord, no rent. Equity. I kept working, got promoted twice. I'm a senior software engineer now, leading a team of 5. Salary. $140,000. I still can't believe that number. I'm not rich, but I'm stable. Safe. Free. My credit score is 798. I have a retirement account. I take vacations without panic checking my bank account first. I'm building the life my parents said I needed to be self-sufficient enough to earn. Turns out I didn't need to earn it. I just needed them to get out of my way. Olivia and I talk weekly. She's pregnant now, my first nephew, due in March. She asked me to be the godmother. I cried when she asked. I want him to know his Aunt Cameron, she said. The woman who taught me what courage looks like. Her relationship with our parents is complicated. She sees them occasionally, dinners a few times a year. Surface-level conversations. They don't talk about me. She's made it clear. If they trash me, she leaves. They've learned not to trash me. At least not in front of her. I don't ask about them. I don't want to know if they're well, if they're happy, if they've changed. It doesn't matter. They're not part of my life anymore. Jordan got engaged last year. I'm the maid of honor. Her fiancé, Sam, is wonderful, the kind of person who sees you fully and loves you anyway. You helped me believe I deserved this, Jordan told me during her proposal story. Watching you fight for yourself, it made me realize I deserved to fight for myself too. We both cried. We cry a lot together. Happy tears now. Grandfather James is 83. His health is declining, but his mind is sharp. We have dinner once a month. He tells me stories about my father as a boy. He wasn't always like this, Grandfather said last month. He used to be kind, generous. I don't know when he changed, when he decided ambition mattered more than character. It's not your fault, I told him. No. But I could have intervened sooner. I saw him favor Olivia. I should have said something. You're saying something now. That's what matters. He squeezed my hand. You're the best thing in this family, Cameron. Don't let anyone make you forget that. I think about the lawsuit sometimes, about the confrontation, about the choice I made to burn it all down. People on the internet still message me, strangers who saw the videos, read the articles. They tell me their own stories, parents who favored siblings, families that weaponized money, children who learned too late that love was conditional. You gave me permission to walk away, one message said. I thought I was obligated to keep trying. You showed me I wasn't. That's the part I'm proudest of. Not the settlement, not the vindication. The permission I gave others to choose themselves. I went on one date last year. A guy from work. It didn't go anywhere. I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe someday. Therapy helps. I've been going twice a month for 2 years. Working through the patterns I learned. The belief that I had to earn love. That my needs were burdens. That asking for help meant I was weak. My therapist asked me recently, if you could go back and talk to yourself the day you received that invoice, what would you say? I thought about it. I'd say, this is the moment you stop shrinking, stop apologizing for existing, stop believing their version of your worth. Fight back. You're going to lose them, but you were never going to have them. Not really. So fight anyway. She smiled. You did fight. Yeah, I did. Last week, I got an email from a law student at Harvard. I'm writing my thesis on family financial abuse, she wrote. Your case is one of my primary examples. Would you be willing to be interviewed? I said, yes. If my story can change how courts handle these cases, if it can give other kids leverage against parents who weaponize money, then it was worth it. Every painful moment. I have a photo on my wall. From graduation day. Not the MIT ceremony, my parents were there for that. Miserable and checked out. This photo is from 3 months later. A redo graduation celebration Aunt Linda organized. 20 people showed up. They brought flowers, balloons, a cake with Dr. Vale on it, aspirational, I'm starting my PhD next fall. In the photo, I'm surrounded by chosen family. Jordan, Olivia, Grandfather James, Aunt Linda, all my cousins. We're laughing. I'm holding my diploma. Someone put a crown on my head. I look happy. Not the fake happy of someone pretending everything is fine. Real happy. The kind that comes from being seen, valued, celebrated. That's the graduation I choose to remember. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if my parents ever think about me, if they regret it, if they miss me. Then I remember the invoice, the itemized bill for their time, the emotional labor fee, and I stop wondering, because people who loved me wouldn't have billed me for showing up. People who loved me would have shown up for free. I'm building a life now where everyone shows up for free, where love isn't transactional, where I don't have to achieve to be worthy. I'm 27. I have a condo, a career, a chosen family, a nephew on the way, a future that's mine, and I don't owe anyone for it. Not $2,100, not an apology, not a single explanation. I paid my debts, the ones that were actually mine. The rest? That was always theirs to carry. I'm free now, and that's worth more than $487,000. That's worth everything. So that's my story. The invoice that broke my family, the lawsuit that freed me, the choice I made to fight back when everyone said I should forgive and move on. Some of you watching this will relate. You'll see your own parents in mine, your own family dynamics in the disparity I documented. If that's you, I see you. Your pain is valid, your anger is justified. And you don't owe anyone a relationship that costs you your self-worth. Others will think I went too far, that I should have communicated privately, that families are supposed to forgive. To you, I say, I tried private communication for 24 years. They sent me an invoice. Forgiveness is for people who acknowledge harm. My parents never did. Today, I'm living proof that you can walk away from toxic family and build something better. It won't be easy, it won't be clean, but it's possible, and you deserve it. Thanks for listening to my story. This is Achiever Betrayed. If this resonated with you, share it. You never know who needs to hear that they're not alone, that they're not crazy, that the disparity they feel is real. Take care of yourselves, choose you, and never let anyone invoice your worth.